Hello! Hello! Oh! Hello! I'm Matt, and welcome to my corner of the internet. Oh, you can call me Matthew. You can call me Hey You. Lots of people do. I'm glad you're here because today we're going to be talking about how I made Old Little Town of Emond, which is a Wheel of Time parody song that was in the What Idol Holiday Special on Unraveling the Pattern. Ever since I did O Calendar for What Idol last year, I've been hearing a lot of questions about how I do this, because you hear a lot of voices, but there's only me. And today I hope that I can explain some of that, how I do it, at least a little bit of the process. There are some little secrets that I don't really want to give away, if that's okay with you. But for the most part, I'm willing to answer most of the questions, and I actually have a list of questions right here that I'm going to answer today. What's your setup, Matt? I do everything on PC. It's a very old PC. It's a Hewlett-Packard. I call him Huey. I spend a lot of time exporting and remixing in another program called Audacity. And then I put it back into my main program, which is called Sonar X3 Producer. I'll try and zoom in there as I can so that you can see the name of the program. What mic do you use? Well, to be perfectly honest, this is the mic that I use. A cheap blue snowball mic, circa 2017, I think, is when I got it. It's not very technologically advanced at all. It's just a USB mic. It's not as good as a Yeti. It's not a condenser mic. It's just a web conference mic, really, and it has very little frequency response, to be perfectly honest, and a little $8 pop screen. And I sing from usually right about here. I do everything in a chair. I don't stand and sing. I don't do any of that stuff. I'm lazy. I'm lazy. How do you do your videos? Not very well. That's how. I'm terrible at video editing. This is the program I use. It's called Movie Studio 17 Platinum. It's pretty much just a consumer-oriented video maker. It has all kinds of effects on it built in. So I film each one individually, actually against this wall right here. I clear all that stuff out, and then I just film myself up against that wall. And then I added effects like the snow effect, using a transparency type of composite type of effect. Color balance is something that you'll notice. There were lots of colors all over the place on my different screens and everything. And then I usually pair up a couple of performances together onto the same screen. I do that by cropping them, cropping each individual importance, or to the point where it's kind of centered, just a little square. And then I place two squares together on a single track. Again, my computer is not very strong. Huey can only handle so much. So I only can do like two of my voices or two of my performances at the same time. And then I take each of those performances and I put them on, maybe I can do three, but then I take each of those performances and then I place them in different spots on the screen. And hopefully it all works out. Here's the other thing. I wanted to tell a little bit of a story. So I came up with this guy, Sinbui. And I don't know. You may say Kinbui. I say Sinbui because it sounds funnier, especially when you're singing it, mainly. But anyway, the buoy cam was something that I decided to go with because he's my Scrooge character, so to speak. He's all grumbly and everything. One of my favorite things is after he's told that he doesn't help all that much, he starts getting really sour. There he is, getting really sour. Then, of course, when the women's circle is brought up, he is at his worst. This is like Scrooge right before he sees the ghosts. That's before Marley comes to him at his absolute worst. But as the tune goes on, he starts to come around, and he really seemingly likes the chorus. He gets giggled by the fact that the bass player hangs on to the note too long, which was actual mistake that I made while recording it. I decided to make a joke out of it. There he goes. He's giggly. And by the end of it, he's ready to help and he's ready to sing along. So that's my Scrooge character in the whole thing. There always has to be a beating of the chest before a big note in all of my videos. That's one of those little motifs that I have to do. All of these little guys in the middle, they were all rendered 2 at a time and then placed on a separate screen 1 at a time. And then each one of these is a render. So that's a render, that's a render, that's a render. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 renders just on that little screen alone. Then that one had to be placed in with, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So with 8 other renders. So you can see how all of these renders really add up very, very quickly. A lot of times I didn't actually use enough footage. I just didn't. I get very uncomfortable in front of a camera. So I would just simply reverse my image, which is why all of these shirts like this great threefold talk shirt, which wasn't in the video, unfortunately. I got it after I made the video. Remember, I did all this stuff back in August. I mean, I've been sitting on this thing for a long time. I did try to up my hat game a little bit. I brought out all of the old fedoras that I used when I was on tour playing in blues bands. I think there's a playlist around here on this YouTube where you can see me wearing some of those while I'm playing. I think it's, at your own risk is what the name of the playlist is. Anyway, I tried to up the hat game. I brought in the duck hat. I brought in the bass singer hat. The bass singer hat is, I don't guess you can see it here. It's the spiky one. I have the jester hat. I dropped the Ahsoka hat. Roof Mistress, when she said wrong fandom, screamed at me on Threefold Talk, convinced me that I was never going to do the Ahsoka hat again. I just try to have fun with it. I over-exaggerate everything, and whatever part is moving, it seems like all of us move, and that's just my natural instinct to want to go with the note that's moving, even though some of those notes do say the same. How do you make your voice sound so big? And it's really a crime, isn't it? Making this whiny, cringy, gravelly voice sound big. But I do it by recording myself as many as 5 times on the same line. Then I mix all of those voices together in Audacity before I bring them into the Sonar X3. Usually a minimum of 2, and I pan them left and right kind of evenly. Or sometimes I'll do 3 and pan them evenly, 2 of them, and keep 1 in the center. Sometimes I'll do 4 and I'll do just random pans of left and right. And what I mean by pans is this. Like, let's take a look at one of the lines from this tune. Like, this is the line Manetheren. And so what I do is, if you'll see, I have in this first channel, I have it panned mostly left. The next channel panned mostly right. This is just the bass sound, right? So I just Manetheren. That's that sound, and I just keep layering voices on top of it. Manetheren. Manetheren. So even if I were to show you a Sonar X3 project, it'd only look like there were maybe 10, 15 tracks in there because I do record things in sections. But the truth of the matter is there's usually about 10 takes or so behind that. And I do record using the Sonar X3 and then just export them as I go and then go back and work on them on Audacity. And another big question is, what's your influence for these kinds of big harmonies? Who do you listen to? How do you come up with these crazy chords? And the truth of the matter is I do listen to a lot of Jacob Collier. I listen to a lot of Take 6. My motto is this: steal from the best, make up the rest. Because there are no wrong notes. You can put any notes together, and the trick is not what the notes are, but how they, what we call, resolve to a place that does feel better. Tension and release. It's just like all things in art. There is tension and release, and that's what you try to do with these harmonies. Sometimes I put harmonies really close together because that creates tension. Sometimes I put harmonies really far apart because that gives a sense of release. I do follow a couple of guidelines when I pick my harmonies out. One of them being, is there contrary motion in it between the voices? I don't necessarily, I'm not quite as far as Jacob Collier where every line has to be a melody on its own. I'm perfectly cool with just staying on one note if that's what fits the harmony. But I am a big fan of tension and release. And one of the things that creates tension and release is contrary motion. It's a concept that's been around music ever since music was created, really, where one part goes down, another part goes up, and sometimes within the same voice, they come closer towards each other or move further apart from each other. I always try to make sure that those kinds of things happen in my harmony. And the colors, the extra notes in the chord or whatever, are really just kind of a result of that. And it's not something that I can just mathematically explain to you. It's actually something that happens more in my head. Sometimes I will plot things out on a piano just to make sure that it's going to work. But otherwise, most of the time it just comes straight from my head. And I kind of hear the whole thing, and then I try and isolate the parts in my head and sing those parts. And then I go back and listen to it, and I think, oh, is that good enough? Maybe it's not. Let's try something else. I go through that process a lot. The worst you can do is just have to redo it. So that was a very long-winded explanation, but I hope that helps you understand what I do with the harmony. What is your professional singing experience? Very little, to be perfectly honest. I've played music professionally for 30 years, and I worked with some great blues guys. That's what I typically do. I play piano and organ for blues guys. I've worked with some great guys, and harmony was never really a big thing. Occasionally you would have songs that would require harmony, so I would have to do some backups there, but I didn't do a whole lot of lead singing. I have a horrible voice. I really do. It doesn't lend itself to that lead voice kind of quality. So no, I don't have a whole lot of singing experience. I love to do it. Who doesn't love to sing? Everybody can sing. It's the kind of like the one universal tying thing. We all relate to music in the same way. I love that. I love that the humans' evolution from who knows when, probably way back before we could even talk or write, communication was done through music and sounds and those types of things. So because of that, I love to do it, and I encourage anybody to do it. I mean, if I can do it, anybody can. Believe me, anybody can do it. Just put yourself out there. There are no wrong notes. Steal from the best. Make up the rest. That's my philosophy. So no, not a whole lot of professional singing experience. Much more known for my keyboard playing and that type of thing. Lots of records with those, but nothing, no records of me singing. And I think that's it. I think that's all, it's probably way more than you wanted to hear already. So thanks for joining me. If you celebrate any kind of holiday during this time of year, I hope that you have a wonderful one. If you don't celebrate any holiday, I just hope you have a wonderful day. This has been Matt or Matthew or Hey You, whatever you want to call me. Thanks for joining me. Take care.